Hello, beautiful Facebook people, podcast followers on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm so glad you're here for another episode of the Fat Guy Podcast. I am the Fat Guy. Most people call me Brett Mason. I'm glad you're here today. I've lost about 125 pounds, primarily with a ketogenic diet, and I do everything I can to help other people meet their weight loss and health goals as well. Been overweight since I was 5 or 6. That's been my whole life. And I'm still overweight. Still have weight to lose. Still have ways to go. But I am happy that I have finally gained the knowledge to understand metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, and insulin's role as a hormone in the body and what actually causes obesity, and especially chronic obesity, and in my case, to the point of becoming morbidly obese. So these podcasts are tools to try to help you pursue a ketogenic diet based on my experiences. And today we'll be talking about what you can drink on a ketogenic diet. I get asked this all the question. All the time this question is, what can I drink? What can I drink? What can I drink? So we're going to answer that question today. I want you to know, first of all, that I am not a doctor. I have no formal medical training, and while I've spent endless hundreds of hours studying health as it relates to weight loss, more specifically the ketogenic diet, and applying that to my own life and seeing positive results and helping others, I'm just not a qualified medical professional. Before you begin any weight loss or health lifestyle change or anything like that, you should consult with a medical professional. Nothing I say in this podcast should be construed as advice, especially not medical advice. I'm simply relating to you my opinions and my experiences, and that is all and nothing more. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat. My username for all of those is Fat Guy Podcast. You can also download the Spreaker app, which is a free app, no matter what kind of phone or tablet you have. It's free, Spreaker. That's the company I host my podcast with. Download their app. Once you get it downloaded, search for Fat Guy Podcast. Those are all separate words when you're searching by name. Fat Guy Podcast. Once you find it, like it and follow it, and you'll get updated about new episodes. And the beautiful thing is you can easily scroll back and see all previous episodes, so you can find maybe something that relates to questions that you may have. You may find the podcast on how to get started and try out a ketogenic diet, or you may have questions about the science behind it. So I try to continually keep, basically questions I get asked, I try to do a podcast about them, in addition to what I think maybe needs to be shared. So if you already use iTunes, if you have an iPhone, you already use the iOS podcast app, that's fine. I'm on there as well. You can search for us there. And if you use in the Google Play Store, if you use the Google Podcasts, which is a relatively new thing, it's a year or so old, we're there as well. So many ways you can find us. The Spreaker app usually works for most people who aren't familiar with podcasting, who it's new for. That's just an easy way, easy access. So, all the time, as a matter of fact, I just got through replying to somebody that asked me about what they could drink and stay on a ketogenic diet. And so before I get to the answer, I want to remind you, and again, I speak to people who want to do a ketogenic diet for weight loss. Now, there's a lot of reasons to do a ketogenic diet. There's new research coming out that confirms what they thought all along, that it really helps with Parkinson's. It seems to be really effective with certain brain cancers and other kind of brain cancers. A true 4-to-1 ketogenic diet, which is different than a weight loss ketogenic diet, it's much higher in fat. It's an incredibly high amount of fat. It's good for kids with seizures and these other types of brain issues. So it's all kind of reasons to be on a ketogenic diet. I'm speaking simply from a weight loss perspective. So we're going to try to understand the physiology behind what are we trying to accomplish to lose weight. And I've said this in a bunch of other podcasts, and I'll repeat it here. Your main goal to lose weight is to get your insulin level as low as possible and keep it as low as possible for as long as possible. Insulin has several roles. One of them, obviously, is to escort glucose or glycogen into muscle, into the liver, or whatever. It's a transport, not really a transport, it's more like a key, I guess. When your body starts failing in that area, you become insulin resistant, which causes your body to pump out more insulin, which makes you more insulin resistant, which makes your body have to pump out more insulin, which makes you more insulin resistance. And this cascading series of events eventually leads to type 2 diabetes. Now, you had diabetes way before you were diagnosed because your body was struggling to make all this stuff work for months, years, or decades before. Finally, it gets so bad, though, that your body just can't keep up anymore. It can't produce enough insulin to stay ahead of the insulin sensitivity that you've created. So why is this a problem for weight loss? Well, it's a problem because insulin is also a hormone, and one of its roles, or maybe its primary role as that hormone, is to signal fat storage. So in the presence of elevated insulin, that's a signal to your body to store fat and not release fat and burn fat as fuel. So your body's constantly in a state of fat storage. So one of the biggest things you can do to lose weight is get your insulin low so your body reacts normally now. And it releases fat stores, which your liver converts to ketone bodies, which your body then uses for fuel. Normal people who eat a normal diet, they're using mostly glucose for fuel, which is sugar. And nearly all the body can run without sugar. As parts of the brain can't run without sugar. There's some other parts of the body can't run without sugar. It's a very tiny amount of sugar. And that super tiny amount of sugar that you need, your body can create it. So it's called, forgive me if I get this wrong, gluconeogenesis. So it takes the raw materials, creates it, and you don't have to consume carbohydrate. The very small amount that you need, the very small amount of sugar that you need, your body is capable of producing it. Okay? So a lot of people ask me, well, how low can I go with the carb? Well, you can go all the way to 0. It's very hard to go to 0 because there's incidental carbs in everything. You know, eggs is one of the best foods you can eat, but it has carbs. It depends on the egg, but somewhere around half a carb an egg in that neighborhood. Even bacon, which is considered a no-carb food. Most bacons, if you get up into the 5 to 6 piece range, you hit a carb. So there's incidental carbs in everything. Nevertheless, you don't have to consume carbohydrates, is my point. And the overarching point is, as it applies to weight loss, is your goal is to keep insulin as low as possible for as long as possible. So I just want to tack one more thing onto that before I get into what you can drink. And that is that always keep that in mind, that that's your goal. It's not dieting. It's not calorie restriction. It's nothing you've ever thought of before. You want to do strategies that will keep your insulin as low as possible for as long as possible. That's what you want to do, so that your body can burn and use and utilize the fuel that not only you've eaten, but that you've stored, like a normal thin person does. So to that end, the ketogenic diet is part of that, because we're keeping carbs low so that we need very little insulin. There's very little insulin needed to handle the amount of carbohydrate we're consuming. That's why it's 20 grams or less a day. And then the other way you affect that is by going as long as possible between meals. And so it's really a 1-2 punch. It's a ketogenic diet combined with intermittent fasting. Now, once you get keto adapted, once your body starts burning fat for fuel and it's relatively comfortable with it, you'll find that you're rarely hungry. So intermittent fasting becomes super easy. So I find that when I first talked about people about how we're going to work them into eating 2 meals a day, or maybe even 1 meal a day, it just depends, they freak out and are like, oh my God, I can never do that. Then flash forward 4 weeks and they're like, God, it's so easy to eat 1 or 2 meals a day. I'm never hungry. So it's hard for you to envision it now, but once you become a fat burner, it's super easy. Hunger is really not a thing that you have to worry about all that much anymore. So understanding that it's not just what you eat, but it's when you eat. So when I work with people, I try to get them to keep their eating within an 8-hour window. So that means 16 hours a day they're not eating anything. That's for 16 hours. Their insulin steadily drops. It's a point that we begin some fat burning, and then it stays at that point until whatever time we start eating again. So that's piece of information number 1 you need when answering the question, what can I drink on a ketogenic diet? Here's piece number 2 of information that you need. Pretty much anything triggers an insulin response. So we've just established that our goal is to keep insulin as low as possible for as long as possible. So anything that triggers an insulin response from the body is going to work against weight loss in some way. So we need to try to mitigate that as much as we can. So intuitively, you'd say, well, I'm drinking a diet drink. It's not sugar. It doesn't have carbs. It's sweetened with sucralose, or it's sweetened with saccharin, or it's sweetened with aspartame, or it's sweetened with monk fruit, or stevia, or any of these other things that are non-sugar sweeteners. Well, here's the thing. Pretty much anything except fat triggers some kind of insulin response. And I believe the last thing I read on it, that even fat is not exactly zero. It's just very near zero. Protein triggers an insulin response. Obviously, carbs do it in a big kind of way. But then again, especially something sweet. And I have an interesting analogy for this that I'm not proud of it, but I came up on my own, and I think it describes it perfectly. So we'll get to that so you can better understand it. But let's talk about it first. So when you drink that Coke Zero, or you drink that tea that you sweetened with monk fruit, or whatever the fake sweet thing, it doesn't even have to be a drink. It could even be like a keto dessert or anything like that. When that goes into your mouth and that sweet sensor gets lit up, your body releases insulin right away. It's getting ahead of the game. It's ready to deal with this, what it perceives to be carbohydrates that you're consuming, sugar. It's coming down the hatch, and your body, in an attempt to do its job as efficiently as possible, it sends the troops out. So you get that insulin response. Okay? So I had somebody ask me a couple of days ago, well, why does it do that? I don't understand why it does that. It's not sugar. Why is it doing that? Well, it tastes like sugar. It has all the sensations of sugar. It lights up the sugar part of your brain. It lights up the sugar part of your taste buds. From every angle, your body, from any reasonable way possible, thinks it's sugar. Understand that this stuff wasn't available, thousands of years ago. This is relatively a new thing. So the way our body's evolved is something that tastes like that indicates sugar, and our body believes it's sugar. And there's a lot of other things. Like I said, it doesn't even have to be sweet to trigger insulin. Anything that your body perceives as potential carbohydrate coming in, it's just going to release it. So that could be protein or anything else. But think out of it this way. I think this will help you understand it, okay? Let's say you and your friends are playing a game of Don't Flinch, right? And so you're standing pretty close to each other, and your friend flings his fist at your face. It's very hard not to flinch because your body anticipates that it's about to get hit. That is our reflex. That's the way we were trained. That is the thing that keeps us alive. That is the part of human nature. We've evolved to anticipate danger and react to it very quickly. So when the fist comes at your face, it's very difficult not to react. Your body goes into motion and reacts. And it reacts even if you know your friend isn't going to hit you. Like, your friend isn't going to punch you in the face, and it still doesn't matter. When that fist is coming towards your nose, you are going to flinch, seize up, all the way to just completely move. Your response will vary from the lightest end of the response to the most extreme, which would be diving out of the way. But you're going to react in some kind of way. It's just impossible not to. So understand that, and then understand that when you drink something that tastes sweet, your body reacts the same way. All of its years of evolving to handle things like this will cause it to react in that kind of a way. And so you get an insulin response, which runs contrary to our goal of keeping insulin as low as possible for as long as possible. So what can I drink? Okay? Obviously, the sweet tea and the Coke and the Dr. Pepper and the Mountain Dews and all that stuff is out. Beer is out. You don't drink beer. I don't care if Michelob tells you that they sell a low-carb beer. You don't drink beer, especially not the first 4 to 6 weeks. You really don't drink any alcohol. But now, after 4 to 6 to 8 weeks or something, you're well fat adapted. Your body's a lean, mean, fat-burning machine. You can have some liquors. Liquors are really one of the few things you can eat and survive on a ketogenic diet and manage to stay in ketosis and not have any crazy insulin reactions and such. Understand how alcohol is made. Alcohol is fermented using tons of sugar. That's how they ferment it. I mean, it's nothing, just a bottle full of sugar. So So those are things you can't drink. So what can you drink? Can you drink water that's flavored with a water enhancer? And most of these water enhancers I've seen are sweetened with sucralose. Some of them are sweetened with aspartame. I've seen some that are sweetened with stevia. Nevertheless, they're non-sugar sweeteners. I love them, by the way, just for the record. You couldn't get me to touch them a few months ago, and now I really do enjoy them. But I'm talking about those things. I'm talking about Diet Coke. I'm talking about Coke Zero. I'm talking about Sprite Zero. I'm talking about Powerade Zero, which is zero carb. I'm talking about you get you some unsweetened tea and you buy monk fruit drops or stevia drops or whatever, and you sweeten it with that. Any of these non-sugar sweetened type drinks, can you drink them? The answer is yes, you can drink them. But when should we drink them? Keep it in mind that our goal is to keep insulin as low as possible for as long as possible. When do you think that it would make sense to drink this and not drink water? We would drink it with a meal. So when you have your meal, even though it's a ketogenic meal, it is still going to trigger some kind of an insulin response. It won't be huge like it was when you used to eat 800 carbs a day, but it's still going to trigger some kind of an insulin response. That's when you drink these drinks that will do part of the same. You're going to be triggering the insulin response anyway. That's when you want to have the Coke Zero. That's what I do. I have the Coke Zero when I have my bunless burger with mayo and mustard and sauerkraut on it. You know, when I have my eggs and bacon, cook them butter. That's when I have the water enhancer drink, or the Coke Zero, or the Powerade Zero, or whatever it is that I'm drinking. I drink it then because I'm getting an insulin response then anyway. So that's when I drink it. So that leaves the options when you don't drink it. So it's not just what you drink, it's when you drink. It's just like the eating. It's not just what you eat, it's when you eat. It's the same thing. I try to tell people eating is drinking. Like, we've been conditioned to think those things are different, but they're not. Eating is consuming food. It's consuming calories. It's consuming something nutritive. So it doesn't matter if it's in liquid form or solid form. Drinking is eating. Eating is eating. So you consume that type liquid when you eat. It's all part of one thing together. And then when you're not eating, you don't drink stuff like that. You just drink water. You don't want to trigger insulin at all, and water doesn't. And that pretty much sums it up. There's really not a lot else to say about it. If you want to enjoy an occasional Coke Zero, I don't think they're great to drink, but I do enjoy them. I'll have one or two a week. Sometimes on a bad week, I may have one every day. And I have had days where I've had two or three in the same day, but I try to make those days very rare, very few, and very far between. But I do enjoy them, but I enjoy them within the confines of what I just described. You want to enjoy them with a meal. So when you are not eating, you're giving your body every opportunity to let insulin levels get low. It handles the sugar that you ate. It handles whatever's in your blood. It gets it down, and then it can fall, and then you can start burning fat again. So I hope this podcast has been explanatory. And by the way, that applies to snacks or anything else. That's why you don't snack. I just had a discussion with that about somebody today about, I think they said they were eating 3 meals a day and having 2 snacks or something. I'm like, well, okay, well, that explains all the problems you're having right there. Our goal is to get you to 2 meals a day, maybe even 1, but essentially 2. And there is no snacking in between. A snack is a meal. We don't eat all day. People that gain weight eat all day. We don't do that. So the same thing applies to drinking your liquids because it's eating. Same thing. Hope that helps. That is my goal, to help. If you have questions about my personal coaching, you want somebody to help assure that you will have the best shot of success possible, somebody that's been there, somebody that's lost 125 pounds, and somebody that's lost a ton of other people lose a ton of weight as well, shoot me a message on Facebook or on Instagram or even on Snapchat. My username is Fat Guy Podcast for all those. So just go add me, Fat Guy Podcast. Shoot me a message, say, hey, what's up with coaching, and we'll talk about that. If you just have a generic question, you've been trying keto and you think you've messed up or you have a question, shoot me your questions. I answer all the questions that I can. My goal is to help people. And don't forget to download the Spreaker app, Spreaker. Once you get it downloaded, search for Fat Guy Podcast. That's 3 words, Fat Guy Podcast. And favorite it, subscribe to it. You'll get notifications about new episodes. And you can scroll back and look at all previous episodes, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Follow us on all the social medias, Fat Guy Podcast. and share this. You never know whose life you may change by sharing this on your Twitter feed or sharing it on your Facebook feed. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Good luck. We'll talk to you next time.